Ladies and gentlemen, for your listening pleasure only, live from Tampa, Florida, it's the Exceptional Conservative Show with your host, the Exceptional One himself, Ken McClinton. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just awed by the fact that you are present with us and that we can be present with you. Listen, we are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the socialists. Big day today. One more time, the President of the United States sticks his foot in his mouth at a time that the world needs an elder statesman. He just sounds elderly. We'll talk about that. Big night tonight. At 10 p.m., we will have the Underground Professor with us. We will do New Day Black and Red taping for Saturday, so you get a preview show live. And our good friend, we will release the KRAKEN. Yes, it is that time. It's Wednesday. It is time to release the KRAKEN. We wait all week for it. None other than my very good friend, DC GOP Vice Chair, Ralph Chittams. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to do me a great favor. Come into the chat roll tonight at theexceptionalconservativeshow.com or at SHR Media. And I want to thank those at Rebooting Liberty and SHR Media and Pundit Press for making this possible tonight. What better way to start off a show than how we start off every show, ladies and gentlemen? All right, that's the way we do it, ladies and gentlemen. Start them young. We are live from Tampa tonight. I want to thank everybody who's in the chat row. The new escapee from the chat row happens to be the Pundit Press guru himself, Dan Butcher. Glad to have him in the chat row. Dave Milner with his awesome conservative bites in the chat row tonight. My good friend, who we're going to release at 9:30 tonight, releasing the KRAKEN, Ralph J. Chittams, is in that chat row. Mary Brockman, who is my bouncer. Love you, Mary. And if you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed from chat room. Just want to let that clearly know. And my very good friend, Jersey Joe, Weaver of Common Sense, who we had lunch today here in Tampa. It was a great conversation, my good friend, and I'm very, very, very pleased and thankful for the joy and honor of being able to sit and talk with him during the course of the day. He is just a very, very good man, and if you go to our Facebook page, you'll see the wonderful picture. He looks more handsome than I do, so there you go. Let's kick some butt tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, the President of the United States has decided that he is going to go overseas and be anti-American. What better place to do it than outside of America, in fact? Amongst all the clips that I want to play, this is by Western Journalism reporting. Western Journalism is a wonderful institution. Become a part of it. Just go to their Facebook page or click onto their website and subscribe to Western Journalism. Great stuff. You can subscribe for those who watch me via YouTube. You can subscribe to Western Journalism also via YouTube. So do so. I encourage you wholeheartedly. But let's play the clip here so we can get underway.
Once again, Obama's timing couldn't be worse. Last week he said ISIS was contained, Islamic terrorists then attacked Paris. Now he mocked the GOP, saying Syrian widows and orphans are not to be feared.
Apparently they're scared of widows and orphans coming into the United States of America as part of our tradition of compassion. First they were worried about the press being too tough on them during debates. Now they're worried about 3-year-old orphans. That doesn't sound very tough to me.
Just hours later, a female terrorist detonated a suicide vest in front of French police, injuring some and killing this bomb-sniffing dog. But Obama reassures that there are exhaustive security screenings for the refugees.
What it is that is not already being done under this rigorous 18 to 24-month process to admit refugees, and the screening that's taking place by an entire set of U.S. agencies that are specialists in countering terrorism. If they've got a specific suggestion, then they can make it.
It's not just Republicans in opposition. Democrats Dianne Feinstein, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Manchin joined Speaker Paul Ryan calling for a pause on refugees.
We cannot let terrorists take advantage of our compassion. This is a moment where it's better to be safe than to be sorry. So we think the prudent, the responsible things take a pause in this particular aspect of this refugee program in order to verify that terrorists are not trying to infiltrate the refugee population.
Clutch the pearls! Oh my goodness! Clutch the pearls, everyone! Do you really mean that they could be infiltrating? What proof do you have, Mr. Ryan, that they could be infiltrating, that they could actually be coming into our country, or at least trying to come into our country? There's no absolute proof. The President of the United States is absolutely right. The screening is absolutely perfect. We have never... What was that? Honduras. What did you say about Honduras, sir? Syrians in Honduras? Well, they must be Syrians who are interested in the values that are being presented by Barack Hussein Obama, right? It must be the valued justice-seeking. What? No, they're not. Okay, here's the news from Tegekugapa, or whatever. It's in Honduras. Honduran authorities have arrested 5 Syrians intending to make it to the United States with stolen Greek passports. Clutch the pearls again. Stolen? No, not the Syrians. They're absolutely perfect human beings. They wouldn't dare steal anything, now would they? Stolen Greek passports triggering alarm Wednesday in the wake of the Paris attacks launched by Syria-linked jihadists. The Syrians were arrested on Tuesday as they flew into... Oh my God, clutch the pearls again. They actually were on an airplane with false documents getting into Honduras? It's unimaginable. How could this possibly happen with all of the terrorists who are out there and our agencies, the whole collection of great agencies? How could they have possibly gotten out of Europe without there being... What? What? It's possible. It happens. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Here's a quote. From the Anibal Baca, who is the police spokesperson down in Honduras capital. He says 5 Syrian citizens have been detained and will be taken to our offices to be investigated because it is suspected that they are carrying false documents. Oh, undocumented Syrians? Oh, they should have been given ample opportunity to come through. Just send them north of the border to the U.S. They're undocumented. All they have to do is say dream. They can come right on there. Okay. They had traveled by air from Syria to Lebanon. Oh, my God. Okay. and I want you to know, I want you to understand that when I laugh, it's not just in jest. It's just hilarious that you have the President of the United States criticizing the repudiation of his Obama strategy for ISIS by the GOP and the call for restraint in allowing refugees to come into the country. And let me just make this abundantly clear. I love kale. There we go. I love kale. Did I? Okay, first I gotta say I love Mary, and then I love kale. I gotta make that clear because beauty comes with precedence. So there you go. But apparently, these individuals were able to travel the world, get out of Syria. Okay, and let me just read this to you now. They flew from Syria to Lebanon And this wasn't an Southwest Air kind of flight either. So here we go. From Syria to Lebanon, then to Turkey, then to Brazil, then to Argentina, then to Costa Rica, and on to Honduras. These must be the JV recruiters for ISIS. You know what I'm saying? They were able to get in and out of the country and almost around the world 2 or 3 times before they were caught. So I have to ask you this really, really big question. The next voice you hear will be Jay Johnson, who is Homeland Security Secretary. And when we come back from the break, I'm going to sincerely ask you, do you really trust this administration? You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show this week, live from Tampa, Florida.
As the Secretary of Homeland Security, I'm committed to ensuring that the screening process for refugees is one that is careful and that we vet refugees against all the information we have, and we're going to continue to do this properly and we're going to continue to do this carefully. This is an unprecedented crisis in the world. I believe that a lot of countries in the world right now are looking to the United States for leadership. I believe that there was a general recognition in there that the United States does need to lead, that we should step up to our humanitarian obligations, and that we should do so carefully, and that we should vet people properly pursuant to our existing process. Our process has improved over the last several years. We consult lots of different agencies in that process. It is a careful, time-consuming process, and we are committed to continuing that process with regard to Syrian refugees.
I don't see how you could do other thing to the vetting program. They're not even letting males in here. You virtually have to have a family connection. It's going to take you 2 years to get into this country. When we say we would like to take 60,000, don't look for them to come to this country anytime soon. The vetting process is very steep. The difference between Syria and Iraq is that we had been on the ground in Iraq and we had more information. The fact that we don't have any information, all I can say is it's going to be a very, very clean Syrian who's going to get in here, even if it's a woman or a child. If you're going to be the leader of the free world in this, and you stand out and you say everybody else take some, but we won't take any, you've lost your leadership. They didn't put it that way, but that's my view. For almost all the Republican questions, almost none of them were about security, except as it pertained to refugees.
Ladies and gentlemen, council member, Congresswoman, it doesn't matter one way or the other, she doesn't vote.
As the Secretary.
Eleanor Holmes Norton. And we're going to release the Kraken at 9:30 tonight. We want him to really take a big shot here, but because this is a softball right over the plate. But here we go. And I know I said I was going to a commercial, but I'm going to commercial after I say this. Ladies and gentlemen, when the Congresswoman stands before the mics and she tells you that not one male Syrian will get into this country, she is not only errant, but she is dishonest. The one missing Syrian that was brought into this country through Bobby Jindal's Louisiana, Governor Bobby Jindal's Louisiana, is now residing in Washington, D.C. We'll be back with more of the best of the most influential urban conservative show in America, the Exceptional Conservative Show.
Right. It's gonna be a right swipe. This man has shaped his chest hair into a heart. Oh, yes, don't mind. Right swipe.
Right swipe, right swipe.
That kind of looks like my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten. Oh my God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh! She's hot.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
This must be some kind of joke. You think you're my type, and I'm my type. You're gone in the glass smoke. I just left swipe, bye-bye. I just left swipe. Left swipe this. Why you gotta swipe it left? You gotta swipe it left. Why you gotta swipe it left? This is still my don't so I gotta left swipe that. Look at you with your shirt off, flex it. You're buff, but you pop. Hashtag good like a six-pack abs, now the six-packs of debt.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie. Whole nine, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. I just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. You think you're my type, and I'm not type. You're born in the cloud of smoke. I just left swipe, I just left swipe.
Let's swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Let's
left.
swipe this.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all offensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from tens to twos. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with the tiger?
Let's swipe that.
While you're on a hang glider?
Let's swipe that. Smoking
What?
healthy. Let's swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy?
Let's swipe that. Smoking with a duck face. Let's swipe that.
And a monster truck race?
Let's swipe that. Smoking at the prom. Let's swipe that.
Getting in a photo bomb?
He don't care. Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Let's
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah. Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm gonna walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. So we're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage, and we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and free. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused heat burger. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA brown chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on it. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
I'm here, man. I'm here. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in Tampa. Inspire, indulge, infuse. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to have to force you to do this. I hope I don't have to. 301-449-9000. Dave's telling me that he had a fantabulous double bacon cheddar cheeseburger for lunch today. And he doesn't need one for dinner. But I tell you what, if you have not had the double bacon burger at Infused, then you haven't had a double bacon burger. Period. I put Infused up against anybody. That food is fundamental. And if you want a fundamental change in your eating, make sure that you go to 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748, 301-449-9000, 301-449-9000, infuse.com. All I got to tell you is this. My woman, Mrs. Biggs, who I love dearly, I took her there, and she ate sufficely. So all I'm going to say is, you need to take your woman's assistants to Infuse Restaurant, where Derek Williams is the owner, and you can have a wonderful time. Christina, his wife, and they're just the most wonderful people in the world. Make certain that you do it. D. Blair, thank you so much. Glad to have you here. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what time of the year it is, and don't complain that you hear more commercials from my show than you do on Rush Limbaugh, because that's not true. He gets paid for all his. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated was founded to help improve the morale and welfare of members of the armed forces of the United States of America deployed in harm's way. They accomplished their mission by sewing holiday stockings and filling them with special items for the troops. Many of the stockings that they send are for a specific person, with the name on the stocking itself. For many troops, our gift is the only gift that they will receive for the holidays. They're trying to send a touch of home, as well as personal messages of support to remind troops, our troops, that we appreciate all they do for us, and to let them know that they have not been forgotten over the holidays. And listen, they depend on the generosity of others to help them accomplish this vital mission. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, so you can check with your tax professional if this is a deductible expense, and should be one for you. Listen, if you would like to make a donation to their community project, please send your check, not the ones that bounce, just send the real one. Cashiers if you can, but send your check to Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated, 1911 Folk Road. That's F-O-U-L-K Road, F-O-U-L-K Road, Wilmington, Delaware 19810. And they thank you for your assistance. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated, and you can go online actually, stockingsforsoldiers.org, and let me just put that in the chat roll here. Stockings for Soldiers.org. There we go. We put that in the chat roll. That way you can send it out to all of your friends and family. Tell them, hey, that pizza that you plan on having this weekend, give it up. Send a little something to the people in Delaware that they might listen, and that our soldiers might receive the benefit. Listen, you say too late? Mary says too late. She's already got the pizza. Next week's pizza. Next week's pizza. Since it's Turkey Week, next week's pizza. Do that. Mr. President, hashtag American Lives Matter. Just a few moments before we release the KRAKEN, I want to let you know something, and a lot of people will say, Ken, you are slightly over the top. You're disdainful even of the responsibility that you have to report the facts, to report the truth. And I don't think so. I believe that my job is to report not only the truth, but to present to those who happen to normally not have the opportunity of hearing the commentary that goes along with it, that particular necessity as well. So tonight at 10 o'clock, the Underground Professor will be with me. We will be taping the New Day Black and Red for Saturday at 5 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM out of the lovely city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, PA, and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And WNJC can be heard on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania throughout, as well as in Delaware and New Jersey. So we encourage you to listen. If you're not going to be in the 10 o'clock hour tonight, or at least follow us on USTREAM, live stream, or YouTube. I want to tell you about the refugee law, because a lot of people are thinking that there is a international requirement for someone to come into another person's country. I want to deal with that first and foremost, because a lot of this is just basically rhetoric between people. And the truth of the matter is, borders were meant for a purpose. Borders were meant for the purposes of keeping out those who were not citizens of a nation and welcoming in guests for temporary stays and not for permanent residencies. Do you understand? What I'm saying to you is that because you're born an American and you get persecuted here, there is not a world obligation for you to be accepted by every country in the world. It just isn't the case. So if you are a Syrian who's persecuted, and now remember, President Obama says that if you mention the term Christian, then you're doing a religious test. But if you mention the term Syrian, you're speaking for all Muslims. Now, how he figures all that out, we just have to, own it up to the simple fact that he's still kind of recovering from the communist influences of his youth. And basically, rhetoric is very easy to promulgate and propagandize and send forth than actually speaking to the truth. The truth of the matter is no one has an obligation to accept a refugee. Let me read from you, because there are 4 chords that speak to this particular fact, this effect on a international level. Now, the Constitution speaks to immigration. I want you to understand, and the underground professor will talk with us about that. He seems to be more wise about the Constitution than but the Constitution does not speak of refugees. Specifically, they speak of immigration laws. Immigration laws that are not the respite or responsibility of the President of the United States. He must enforce the laws, but those laws which are created by the Congress itself. He has a right to veto any law, but Congress has a right to override his veto. And in the overriding of the veto itself, he has an obligation placed upon him as the person responsible for executing the laws of the land. I love that term. I love that phraseology. People say, law of the land, it's the law of the land. Obamacare, the law of the land. The truth of the matter is, it's just found to be, certain portions of it found to be constitutional. Others are under consideration at this time period by the courts. They may be found unconstitutional. Thus, it's not the law of the land. If you go back in history and in time, if you actually study constitutional law, the only law of the land is the Constitution itself. So, Constitution speaks to immigration. Immigration does not refer to specifically refugees. So, what is the onus that because we are a great and wondrous nation, it's amazing how we have values all of a sudden when we want to take in individuals that want to destroy us from the inside out. That's when we start using that democratic, the cause of good values, whatever. Otherwise, the socialists will tell you that America is the worst country in the world, it's a racist nation, and the Muslims shouldn't even want to be here. But the 1966 Bangkok Principles of Statutes and Treatment of Refugees was adopted at the Asian African Legal Consultative Committee in 1966. And now this is according to the United Nations Conventions regarding the status of refugees, okay, which dates back to 1951. Then there was a 1969 OAU Convention governing the specific aspects of refugee problems in Africa. So the world began to look at Africa specifically under those refugee continuums. Then we began to look at Latin America under the 1984 Cartagena Declaration on Refugees. In 1976, we turned our attention to Europe with the Council of Europe's recommendation 773 in 1976 on the situation of de facto refugees. And then finally, the European Union in 2004 took a council directive on the minimum standards for the qualification and status of third country nationals and stateless persons as refugees or as persons who otherwise need international protection and content of the protection granted. So when we talk about refugees, there is no onus on us constitutionally. The only onus is on a more legal perspective of that, a bill that was passed in Congress in the 1980s under the Reagan administration that considered refugees. But again, there is no obligation constitutionally to take in refugees. The obligation is international. The kindness and benevolence of this great country is being bastardized and used by individuals who have not the common desire to keep this nation under its current constitution. They want to fundamentally change it, but they also want you to take the bathwater along with the bomb. When we come back, we'll release the KRAKEN, and I'm quite certain he has a lot to say regarding the comments of the once sober, I don't know about sober, but certainly senile, the once beloved, I will go with that one, beloved Eleanor Holmes Norton. You're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. Well, no, not tonight. We are live from downtown Tampa, Florida at the Intercontinental Hotel. Tampa, Florida, it is live, and we are spreading the good news of conservatism throughout the world.
My name is Christopher Arnold. I'm an executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage, and then we cook here and slice it up. My pizza dough is an in-house made. Pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and free. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and a Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused heat burgers. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to run it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we can add the sauce and then cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have to remind you, I don't have to tell you, 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. You can listen to our show mobily via USTREAM, or you can listen to it via SHR Media, Pundit Press Media. You can do all of that mobily. You can take it to the car and listen to the show, never have a break or interruption. Go in, get your burger, come out, or get your salmon or your bacon pancake. There's just so much you can get there. And you're doing it all for the kids. Listen, 301-449-9000, infuse.com.
Teacher tells us all we gotta do is just say no. And the other day, a policeman came to our class talking about say no too. But my teacher doesn't have to welcome me to this neighborhood. And maybe the dealers are scared of the police. But they're not scared of me. And they sure don't take no for an answer.
To Kevin Scott and all the other kids who take the long way home, we hear you. Don't give up.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would encourage you. It's more than just us saying no to drugs. It's about us actually helping our community. This Christmas, remember that there are young people suffering in your midst. Help them, and that will help yourself. Say no to drugs, and then show them how to say no, and protect them from those that don't want them to say it. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from Tampa, Florida. We are going to release the Kraken. We are calling him now. None other than the great one himself, Ringy Dingy 1, Ringy Dingy 2. The great Ralph Chittams Sr., who is DC GOP Vice Chair.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. It's a great honor to have you on the air with us tonight.
Always a pleasure. So, what do you want the Kraken to destroy this evening?
Well, first and foremost, can you give us the inside address of where they're keeping the one Syrian that has escaped from Louisiana and has been moved quietly to the District of Columbia?
You know, that's not even a joking matter, you know, in all seriousness.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to bring a fighting-aged, able-bodied male into the country, claiming he is a refugee, seeking protected status, and then after being in his host country for 2 days, he disappears and miraculously somehow turns up on the streets of the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. He has no family here. He has no friends here. What, he just wanted to see the Washington Monument?
Of course!
I'm going to say it, and it's not an original statement, but this Syrian refugee crisis, and put those last words in quotes, is not going to end well for the United States.
Indeed. Indeed. In all seriousness, because both of us are from Washington, D.C., at least we live there and are citizens of the District of Columbia, what is the atmosphere in Washington, D.C. today, knowing that Stephanie Rawlins in Baltimore and Muriel Bowser in Washington, D.C. as mayors have consented to taking in Syrian refugees, and there is a dramatic and unequivocal threat that the next attack will take place in Washington, D.C.
Well, the joke here on the ground in Washington, D.C. is that if you live on the side of town where we are, which is east of the river where most of the black people live, we don't have anything to be afraid of because all the white monuments are downtown.
It pays to be disenfranchised sometimes.
This should be a wake-up call to this country.
Yeah.
And not just because we had this one guy disappear from Louisiana and turn up here on the streets in Washington. Mm-hmm. You had 5 Syrians turn up at the Tegucigalpa, Honduras, trying to get to the United States. You had another 8 that were captured at Laredo, Texas, trying to cross the border into the United States. So people need to understand that when people talk about border security, we're not talking about Mexicans. We are talking about embedded terrorists that are using a porous southern and northern border, and now with the complete consent and complicity of Barack Obama and the federal government to sneak terrorists into the country.
Exactly. And we read earlier from Yahoo News that the 5 that were captured in Honduras had traveled from Syria to Lebanon to Turkey to Costa Rica. I mean, they were on a magical carpet ride around the world, and it wasn't until they got to Honduras that they got hung up. Literally, they went through all of these countries where they're supposed to be vetting and got through. Is that? Yeah.
But here's something else that people need to think about. Let's forget all about that they weren't vetted. Do you know how much money it takes to make the trip from Syria through all of those countries to get to Honduras or to get to Mexico to sneak across the border into the United States? I thought these people were refugees. I thought these people were broke. I thought these people didn't have any resources. It takes thousands of dollars to make that trip from that part of the world over here to this part of the world. Who is financing them? Because they are clearly not refugees if they can afford to fly from Syria to Lebanon to wherever, and wind up in Honduras.
There you go. We're releasing the KRAKEN tonight. Ralph Chittams, who's DC GOP vice chair, but a master of common sense in a world that doesn't have it in Washington, D.C. The big question is, who does finance these individuals to get through these countries? And it can't be anything less the individuals who have access to the wealth and resources. And ISIS, with all the Syrian rebels, seems to have that particular access. Why isn't Eleanor Holmes Norton not asking that question of Jay Johnson, the Secretary of Homeland Security?
Because it's very hard to talk when you have your lips plastered against somebody's rear end.
Eleanor Holmes Norton, here she is.
Even letting males.
Yeah, they are Obamites. They are, acolytes. They are, sycophants of whatever this arrogant, unconstitutional president says and does. He is violating U.S. law by not consulting with the governors of the states of the United States as required by law before any refugees are brought into the country. This is a lawless, unconstitutional, undemocratic president, and I, for one, can't wait to see him gone.
Well, I love the fact that he has such courage to ridicule his critics themselves of his Obama ISIS strategy, and then he makes reference to the fact, and I'll get this right here because I want to read it quote for quote. I don't want to be like the libs that make it up as they go along. But apparently, he makes reference to the fact that you are a coward if you don't go along with his understanding of the Syrian process. That the GOP happen to be cowards and fearful of orphans and widows. I want to ask you, is that the type of statesmanship that we should be getting from the President of the United States, no matter where he travels in the world?
No, it not only is it not statesmanlike, it shows that it also shows that he's just a complete and pure idiot. because there are 31 who have now stated, don't bring the Syrian refugees into my state. All 31 of those governors are not Republicans, but here, good old Barack, he can't, let an opportunity to politicize something go. He's going to say it's only Republicans who are saying we need to put the brakes on how we bring these Syrians into the country, and he's ignoring the fact that he has governors in his own party who are asking him to put on the brakes. This president is an embarrassment on a worldwide level.
I want to switch to another issue because, we're basically regurgitating the truth, and not too many people are against that. I want to go to a woman who may someday hold up her right hand and place her left hand on the Holy Quran, left behind by Barack Obama, and pledge her oath of office. Hillary Clinton. Apparently, Hillary Clinton and Bill have to redo the tax returns for the Clinton Foundation. And according to President Donna Shalala of the Clinton Foundation, she says that there are no changes in our bottom line numbers and that we do not owe any taxes. However, they were unable to explain why $25 million was not reported by the Clintons as a result of foreign support of the Clinton Foundation. I ask you, sir, because you deal with the GOP and the politics of this, is this about politics as usual, or is this really about justice?
Oh, this is politics as usual. This is the high heaven. This just goes to show you that if you're a Democrat in this country right now, the rules don't apply to you.
Wow.
You can be the Secretary of State of the United States of America, whose husband is a former president, and you can get $25 million from government, not for that income, and then have nothing happen to you. It's the same administration that allows Al, charlatan, to walk around with a tax bill of $4.5 million, and no one tries to collect a penny of it. This, there are no words to describe the level of corruption that this country is now suffering through. There are no words to describe it.
When we think about corrupt states, we think of Nigeria. We think of Russia. We think of nations where freedom and liberty are at a bare bones availability. We don't think in the nation's capital, we don't think in America that corruption would be so apparent and so rudely projected to the American people for acceptance purposes. Is there any hope that socialists might see that you can't elect a woman who's going to be up on IRS charges sooner or later, or has to answer for the death of an ambassador because she lied? What's wrong here with the socialists in this regard?
They don't care. Logic means absolutely nothing to them. They have their agenda, and they are hell-bent on executing the Clausewitz strategy of manufacturing an economic emergency in this country, which plunges us into socialism and which achieves their ideological gains. And what difference does it make whether it's, Hillary Clinton with a trail of 30 dead bodies, or Bernie Sanders, who just says flat out he's going to destroy the economy of the United States and turn it into a third world welfare state? It doesn't matter which one of these two crazies gets in the White House, this country is going to be screwed.
We are talking tonight with the KRAKEN himself. We are releasing upon the world Ralph Chittams, Sr., who is D.C. Vice Chairman of the GOP. Want to go to D.C. because I'm here in Tampa right now, and I was told that after the Bowser administration pushed $23 million at the last moment of the council year, which normally would have been refunded back to the people since it was money that was not spent, but actually spent $23 million to social work our way out of the murder situation in the District of Columbia. Since that time period, we have now seen the number rise to 143 murders in the District of Columbia. We have also seen in Baltimore, as they celebrate crossing the barrier of homicide numbers, 300 and 301 and climbing after the weekend. I thought we could social work our way out of this problem, sir.
And anybody who thinks that we can social work our way out of this problem, please send them to my house. I will give you the address offline, because I would like to bridge a book. It's absolutely the level of stupidity of our elected officials around this country, especially in American inner cities. Detroit, Chicago, here in Washington, D.C., Baltimore. We have generations of economics that just have not worked.
Yeah.
We have a welfare state that has been proliferating since the 1960s, families that have been disintegrating since the 1960s. We've ushered in a culture of death through Planned Parenthood, where the person who is supposed to love and cherish life the most, the mother, is now killing babies on a genocide level. And then you think you're going to throw a few dollars at a social worker and you're going to solve the problem. No.
Wow.
It's going to require social workers. It's going to require incarcerating some people. It's going to require economic development. It's going to require drug treatment. It is going to require a completely holistic approach to restore America. And right now, the Democrats are just fat and happy because as long as they keep people poor and dependent, they are insured of their next election.
Now, I'm quite certain that when I get back to Washington, D.C., one of the solutions that I've been a big proponent of and have been criticized both publicly and privately for it is that every man has a right to defend himself. But I've been told that controlling guns is the thing that has to take place in Washington, D.C. But let me give you the numbers for those states, for the district and for Maryland, which are primarily gun control oriented cities.
Well, before you do that, let me go listen to criminal action. What people need to realize is that of the last 10 murders in the District of Columbia, I believe half of them were committed with knives.
There you go.
So now, what are they going to do? They're going to come into my house and take my cutlery?
We're going to take your cutlery, sir. All that silverware.
That's the absurdity of gun control laws. There has not been, in the District of Columbia, listen to this clearly, there has not been in the District of Columbia one instance of a citizen who lawfully owns a gun using that gun in any illegal fashion whatsoever.
There you go. Very much so.
One instance.
And in fact, when you look at the numbers, first and foremost, to get a concealed carry in the District of Columbia, you have to be Jesus and fill out the application, because the police chief refuses to make certain that people have concealed carry licenses in the District of Columbia. There are those who are going.
How does one person get that authority?
Thank you.
Who God made her God?
There you go. It's amazing, but she is, and she's also in charge of the public social works approach to dealing with murders. But these are the homicides in 2015. In the District of Columbia, 143 murders. In Maryland, 91. But in the great state of Virginia, where people can carry a gun and everyone has a right to protect themselves from hurt, harm, and danger, oh God, you know that number must be high. 23. 23. Okay? And also the other thing I want to make in question to you, everyone keeps talking about is teenagers who are killing each other, and that's the teens. But the truth of the matter is, it's gang members who are above 20 years old. In fact, 104 of all of the region's total number of homicides took place amongst 20-year-olds. This is a gang violence problem. Am I right on that, sir?
that's a huge problem is gangs, where it's not teenagers, it's 20-somethings and the young 30s that are out here killing each other. And, people want to say it's teenagers because they try to frame an argument and create a narrative that, it's these poor kids, they're misunderstood. If we just build some more basketball courts and but these kids, it's not kids out here who are shooting and killing. It's 24, 25, 28-year-old grown men.
There you go. There you go. Listen, you have spoken truth tonight, and you have upset the apple cart in Washington, D.C., and I love releasing the Kraken on Wednesday night. How can those who listen to you via YouTube, USTREAM, Livestream, Pundit Press Media, SHR Media, how can all of them get in contact with you?
Okay, well, join me on Facebook and Twitter where I routinely just pick people off on a regular basis. RJCHITTAMSSR, that's on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want to drop me a note at ralph.chittams@dcgop.com.
There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Chittams, we will release the Kraken, and I'm quite certain that Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton will be paying the big price for that one. Thank you, sir, for coming on tonight.
Be blessed. Have a good night.
You too. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with more of the most influential urban conservative talk show in the country. This is going to be a quick break because I have to explain to you why we're so influential. The Exceptional Conservative Show, live from Tampa.
This is crack, rock cocaine. It isn't glamorous or cool or kid stuff. It's the most addictive kind of cocaine, and it can kill you. What's really bad is nobody knows how much it takes. So every time you use it, you risk dying. It isn't worth it. Look, everybody wants to be cool, but doing it with crack isn't just wrong. It could be dead wrong.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't even try it. The thrill can kill. Just don't do it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to come to you tonight and make a special appeal that you go to the Exceptional Conservative Show on the Facebook page. And a lot of people ask me, hey, Ken, why do you say your show is so influential? Well, let me explain to you why it is so influential. Earlier this week, a very good friend of mine, Helen Rowley, in Town Hall, did a story talking about the Red Guard on the campuses of American universities. And it's quite funny, because just 4 days earlier than her posting that particular editorial in Town Hall, we did a show talking about, it's true, it's absolutely true. We did a show talking about the Red Guard on the campuses of American University and how HBCUs and other public institutions and privates are allowing the Black Lives Matter groups to segregate and destroy the campuses, and as well, liberals are destroying the campuses of our universities. They're installing communism, believe it or not. And so I just want you all to do me a great favor if you have an opportunity to do it. My very good friend Helen Rowley, go to Town Hall, read her stuff, and then come back and listen to our show. I'll try to get Helen Rowley on Friday's Conservative Commandos radio show. But coming up, New Day Black and Red, yes, we are going to talk live with none other than the underground professor himself, Dr. Michael Jones. So glad to have you here. We look forward to you coming back in just a few. Yay! Oh man, so cute! And what to eat? No, not really. Welcome back to the Exceptional Conservative Show. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Socialist. I want to thank Mrs. Biggs for tuning in tonight. Love you. Glad to have you here watching via live stream at USTREAM. I also want to thank Mary Brockman, my bouncer, whom I love so much and miss so much. I love Vegas. We got to do whatever stays in Vegas, we should bring out home. She is the mistress of ceremonies in our chat room. If you diss her, you diss me, you will be dismissed. I want to thank everybody who's in our chat room now. DC GOP Vice Chairman Ralph Chittams, Conservative Bite engineer and author Dave Milner, the most productive producer in all of production, Kelly Fritzy is in our chat room. Deborah Blair, thank you so much for being and listening to us. And my good friend Dean, what's up? Glad to have you in there. Dean is normally there throughout the course of the shows, and especially on Sundays at 7 a.m. when we do an American Conservatives Exploration of the Inspired Word of God and African American. Boy, I messed that one up. There you go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, a man who is better known for his ability to tackle the tough people known as rogues or trolls, and certainly a man on WNJC 1360 AM from the city of brotherly love, who is able to express conservatism in a manner which none other are able to do. In fact, he calls himself a liberal because Thomas Jefferson would have. We want to introduce him and present two others. Dr. Michael Jones. Let me get this ringy-dingy thing going here on New Day Black and Red, live from, we're doing it from Tampa tonight, but you can hear it from the city of brotherly love. There we go, 1360 AM WNJC. One ringy-dingy. Two ringy-dingies. Three ringy-dingies. It's Dr. Michael Jones. Oh my God! It is so good to hear you, sir.
You got the Kraken again.
I got the Kraken. Okay, I'm not supposed to call you Kraken. This is why you don't put me in charge of production. This is Ralph Chittams, DC GOP Vice Chairman. Thank you so much for coming on earlier. I do apologize for calling you back.
That's all right.
See, this is why I'm going to put me in charge of production. Thank you, sir. God bless you. Oh, man, I tell you. Okay, we have got to get this right here. I tell you, we got the contacts here. We're going to do call. All right, so here we go. We call the Kraken. Oh, man, I tell you. And I'm quite certain that the underground professor is sitting there in a jovial mood, laughing at the fact that I'm handling my own production. He probably has a tremendous production staff, multi-millionaires. I'm sorry, I'm talking to the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones. and I apologize for not making the right call to the right person, sir. We are so glad to have you.
Would you like to make a call? If you'd like to make a call, please hang up and dial again.
Oh my goodness! Only my very good friend Dr. Michael Jones can do that to me. Thank you, sir.
So, what are you wearing?
Caitlyn,
are we on the air?
yes, we are. Caitlyn Jenner's khakis.
I thought he left those over there.
Oh my goodness, Dr. Jones, it is so good to hear you on the air. It's so good to be your sidekick on New Day Black and Red. First and foremost, I want to thank you for allowing that to happen. And as your sidekick, I'm sorry I didn't get the water right for you tonight, and I didn't make the phone call the right way, but I hope everything from this point on goes extremely well, sir.
Well, I expect it. It's hard to get good help.
Speaking of...
I am eating a chocolate cake and a huge glass of ice cold milk.
Oh man, that sounds so good.
I'm not in the drive-in for a change. I'm actually home.
in the Hermitage. You're home.
My mother invited me over to eat steaks. And a big steak and salad. Which you probably have never heard of. A salad is leafy vegetables with tomatoes and stuff in it.
That comes between the buns.
Yes. And it's not a garnish. It's actually something to eat. And then and we have a big old huge ribeye. Oh my gosh, it was good. I almost cut it with a fork. And then she sent me home with a big huge chocolate cake with pecans on top.
Oh gosh, that's
warm.
Oh, gee. Thank you. I had corn chips for dinner down here in Tampa. All right.
Hey, well, you know what? I met your wife. If you've eaten corn chips, it's because you've done something wrong in the house.
Oh man. I listen. It is so good to hear your voice. This has been a really.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Every time I call you, I go right to voicemail, so I didn't know. That's nice to hear.
It is tough being the sidekick on New Day Black and Red, the show in which we give a biblical as well as a constitutional viewpoint on current affairs and issues of the day. And I'm the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, and this is Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor. We have the great benefit of being aired by Conservative Commando's benevolent dictator, Rick Trader, who is just affable, lovable, and just a wonderful human being. And let me wipe my lips here. They're a little brown, but...
Mine are brown, but it's from chocolate cake.
If only. Listen, I hear tell that Syrians want to come to America. So what's wrong with that, sir?
We're just going to annex it. Make it the 58th state.
Put it right next to Afghanistan. Right there. R2D2 is with us now. Thank you, sir. Okay. Thank you very much. A definitive answer to our constitutional question of refugee status. Thank you, R2. While R2 is
all kind of illegal immigration, isn't it? You know? but R2D2 is the foulest character ever created by Hollywood. He cusses nonstop, so much that every word he says is bleeped out by a censor.
Thank God for the Hollywood censors that are able to vet a whole lot better than the Homeland Security or FBI of these future terrorists in America, the FTA.
I'm afraid to even talk about it because I have been given death threats like you wouldn't believe over the last 2 days over my comments about Syria and
but I understand on your program, since you do Periscope, or however they say it, that you have listeners who believe that you are anti-Semitic and against Jews. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I even said that I was asked about the Jews, and I said, well, they're our allies, but they have their own agenda. They're their own country, right? And then that got me accused of being anti-Semitic. I said, okay, that's a new one.
So when did Jews get their own country? Huh, sir? I'm going to back that up with some facts.
When? I can. I'm glad you asked me that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Yes, I was reading a historical document, and it talked about how they, now there's something about Jews you probably don't know, is that they're very bad at following maps and directions, and it took them 40 years to follow the little Google map that they were given by God to get to Israel.
Exactly.
And so after 40 years, they got there. They beat the Muslims too, oddly enough, because they were in there for centuries before Muhammad made up the whole Muslim thing. But according to Muslims, they owned that land.
Mm-hmm. Now, is Muhammad the one who found the golden tablets under a tree, or that the angel Gabriel got drunk and come visited him? Which one was that?
It's Muhammad Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And Muhammad is Joseph in Arabic. Yes, so Joseph Smith. Funny how close the Mormon creation of religion and the Muslim creation are parallel.
They're pretty close.
Except for there is one difference. At least Joseph Smith, while he liked multiple wives, he wasn't a pedophile, and he was literate.
Yes, he was. And Jesus became the first traveler to the New World. And the air flight was pretty easy too. So
I was reading Mormon accounts of this, and they say that when Jesus was crucified, he then visited, in the upper room, he visited Doubting Thomas and those guys, but then he took off and he went on vacation down to South Mexico and visited the Aztecs and stuff.
Yeah.
And so he was the official first illegal alien before Columbus.
Yeah. Wow, I did not think of it that way. Did he have a passport?
Yes, and the Aztecians also, when they saw Jesus, said, sorry, we're not taking any immigrants from Syria.
The underground professor, the exceptional one, is WNJC 1360 AM from the city of brotherly love. It's Saturday at 5 p.m. And ladies and gentlemen, it's New Day Black and Red. We give a constitutional as well as a biblical viewpoint of the issues and crises of the day. We're talking about Syria. We're talking about refugees. Professor, where in the Constitution does it say that Americans must, because of our kindness and our benevolence and our lack of fear of orphans and widows, must accept any and all refugees?
Well, the Constitution gives Congress the authority to determine immigration, not the president.
Mm-hmm.
First off. Second, I defy you to show me the orphans and widows and all the pictures I'm seeing. They all look like military-age men who could have been home fighting the fight instead of being over here whining about not having Wi-Fi. Instead of fleeing and leaving the women and orphans behind because it's not safe to bring them to the Western countries.
Exactly.
And, right. And third, now I forget what third was, so it couldn't have been too important.
Well, it's very important because in the dailymail.co.uk, you and I both practice reading news from overseas because, quite frankly, our country doesn't dispel the lies as quickly as overseas papers. But there is an enormous amount of condemnation of the Syrian men, but it's not by Europeans and it's not by President Obama. It's by Syrian women who have been left behind. And this is out of the dailymail.com. So I'm going to encourage people who are U.S. citizens, open up a couple of newspapers from overseas. You might get a different picture of what's going on. Syrian men fleeing their war-torn home country are being criticized by the women left behind to live in squalor. In refugee camps. When questioned about their feelings regarding the large number of men who have fled Syria for Europe without their wives and children, these women do not mince their words. One woman accused them of abandoning Syria in a time of crisis, while others stopped short of calling them cowards by saying it is haram, forbidden under Islam, to leave their country. Well, apparently, they know Sharia law so well, because they've been beaten into knowing it, so they understand when the men are actually exacting a false allegiance to Allah. Listen.
You know, it's funny, Ken. There's so often they quote the Quran and it's a lie, it's Jizra, or not Jizra, Attakia and stuff, but they're actually right on that they're supposed to stay and defend.
Exactly.
Now, I have a solution that you and I can do. You know, we're doing socks for troops, right? Well, why don't we do sand-colored burqas for orphans and widows so that they can blend into the sand dunes for when ISIS comes to kill them. And that way they won't see them. They'll just think all these fat Muhammad women are sand dunes in their little nifty colored burqas.
Why not? Why not? It makes good sense.
And they're bacon cinnamon.
Bacon cinnamon. Always put the bacon in there, the extra ingredient that makes the big difference in everything you do this Christmas.
I'm a little sensitive to this because of what happened on Fox News. Evidently, Megyn Kelly, and I don't know this is for a fact, but I've been told that Megyn Kelly praised a Mohammedan female for wearing an American flag rolled around her as a burqa, violating, the U.S. Flag Code 16.7 and all that. But she praised her for having the guts to wear an American flag as a burqa.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you, I was pissed. My mom was looking at me like I was insane. I got so mad when that came across my channels.
Mm-hmm. It's being reported by Yahoo News. You know what I'm thinking about. Yahoo News. Where the white women at? The Muslim. Hit them in the hijab. The Muslim woman in the hijab just schooled Fox News on what a patriot looks like. So apparently she was trying to make a point. But let it be said, let it be known that if an American woman wore the same outfit, she would know what liberty and freedom was like, while a non-American woman would only know what was told to them it was like. It's wonderful.
I agree with that.
It's wonderful that you can wear that garb here in America, but try that in Syria. Let's see if that'll work in Syria, okay?
Yes, Syria can. Try and walk down Saudi Arabia streets with that.
Can you come out of the house by yourself in Saudi Arabia?
No. She would be beaten by the moral minders in the submission if she could make it that far. I mean, they would kill her anywhere in the Middle East for wearing that. So she's not a patriot. This is tactic. This is lying to make people believe that moderate Muslims exist.
Exactly.
And that's all it is.
Exactly.
And it's false.
Now, and according to the Daily Mail, Europe is struggling to cope with its worst migrant crisis since World War II, as hundreds of thousands flee war and persecution in Africa and the Middle East. More than 500,000 have arrived in Europe across the Mediterranean so far this year, more than double the figure of 2014. And there's an expectation that 1.5 million refugees will be coming to Europe. That does not sound very nice for what is to come for Europe. In fact, if you had 1.5 million troops come into your country, what would you call that, sir?
Invasion of it.
That's what it is. But apparently, you are an evil and uncompassionate person if you say that you do not want your country to be invaded by people that do not share your values, your beliefs, and certainly would prefer to share a bomb with you in the local mall. I don't know. I just
don't forget, I'm anti-Semitic too for being, and I'm Islamophobic, which makes me now anti-Semitic.
There you go. See, you're a well-rounded xenophobe.
I am a true bigot, sir. I hate everybody, including myself.
Listen, no man like myself knows what it means to hate yourself as much as Black Lives Matter thinks I do.
Well, I don't know. I got pretty close to that when you found out about me and Peaches.
New Day Black and Red people. Yeah, you gotta love them.
Don't answer my phone call. Go ahead, see what I do to you.
12 million. We're talking 12 million people have left Syria since the beginning of the Syrian wars, or rebel wars, or civil wars there. 12 million.
You a question.
Yes, sir. You can ask me anything.
The size of 12 million people, would that be a good sized army?
That would be a darn good sized army. That's New York and Los Angeles combined. Right there, 12 million people.
Why Syria's got a problem. If all these people can flee, then they can all turn around. And everybody over there seems to have a Toyota and a machine gun. So why can't they all just turn right back around and go over there and fight their own battle and get their own freedom?
Yeah, why not? Why not give them each a $9 million and tell them, go, good luck. Go back home and protect your land, protect your borders. I mean, quite frankly, to tell me you have 12 million people that have left your country, which is an amazing size in New York and Chicago, and New York and Los Angeles combined, and that they can't go back and take back their country, well, that must be a darn feisty army called ISIS. And quite frankly, they must be better than the U.S. military. If 12 million people can't fight against them, they're cowards.
Well, that's what it is. It's not about fleeing terrorism, Ken. It's about spreading Islam and making the Western countries pay for it. You see, what we're doing is we aren't being invaded. We are purchasing our invasion. We are paying them to come and invade us and then to change the fabric of our society, the morals of our society. Our society completely in toto is being changed by this. And then we're all going to sit around and complain when it was us that did it, not them. We can't blame them. You don't blame a dog for eating a steak that you drop on the floor. It's what dogs did.
Yeah.
And that's what Muslims do. They eat steak off the floor, I guess, as long as it's not filet mignon wrapped in bacon. But that's what they do, is they attack, they kill, they murder, they blow things up, they lie, they cheat, they steal. They consider welfare to be jizra, and they are the enemy of any country they're in, even their own.
Thank you. Very well said. Stockings for Soldiers. Stocking for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, was founded to help improve the morale and welfare of members of the armed forces of the United States of America deployed in harm's way. We accomplish our mission by sewing holiday stockings and filling them with special items for the troops. Many of the stockings that we send are for a specific person with their name on the stocking. For many troops, our gift is all they receive for the holidays. We're trying to send a touch of home as well as personal messages of support to remind our troops that we appreciate all they do for us, including protecting the hijab USA flag wearing individuals in our country, and to let them know that they have not been forgotten over the holidays. We depend on the generosity of others to help us to accomplish our vital mission. Stockings for Soldiers Delaware Incorporated is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. As such, donations are deductible to the extent allowed by law. Please consult your tax professional for more information. Please, it's coming up on that time of the year when you got to do your taxes, so make sure your donations are tax deductible. If you would like to make a donation to our community project, please send your check to Stockings for Soldiers, Delaware Incorporated, 1911 FOULK Road, Folk Road, Wilmington, Delaware, 19810. That's 19810. Thank you already from Stockings for Soldiers Incorporated. Today we are talking with the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones, who is considered a sex symbol now in Russia since he has been heard on Periscope and Blog Talk Radio.
And Brazil.
And Brazil. You definitely will find a wife in Brazil or Russia. And the exceptional one, Ken McClinton. Glad to be here with you today. We're talking about Syria. We're talking about the refugee conflict in America. News tonight that one of the refugees has been cited, or at least, well, cited, yes, not in the sense of watching someone on the street, but has been placed and covered in the District of Columbia. And quite frankly, there are 31 governors throughout America, whether it's Texas or Florida, Idaho, New Mexico, who have all come out and said, you know what, we do not want the Syrian refugees to come to America. We do not want them here. We do not want to have to explain to our citizenry what happened at the local mall when little Muhammad decided to take a burqa-wearing woman with him to blow up the whole mall. We don't want to deal with that particular scenario situation. We don't want to deal with terrorists who are trying to fly from Costa Rica to Honduras to Turkey to Lebanon to Syria to just aid and abet in the terroristic actions because somebody had to pay for them tickets. So, ladies and gentlemen, we don't want that. That's what the governors are saying. We don't want that. Why is it, sir, according to the Constitution, that the governors will not be heard on this regard?
Say that again, just a question part? So why is what I couldn't hear it. One of my dogs just did something to me. It was something about why the governors what?
Why the governors will not be heard on this account?
Well, I'm not sure that they're not being heard. The governor of Alabama has come out and said that he considers this to be a national or a natural disaster, and that the central government is not allowed to send in anything to help his state without his official request. He has to give the central government permission to send in, troops or to send in aid or equipment or anything. You remember what happened to Bush, because they wouldn't allow him to help Louisiana, and then they turned around and blamed him for not helping, right?
Exactly.
Well, the same thing is going on. And so the governor said, well, this is my prerogative. They can decide immigration, but I get to decide who gets to come in. And these people are blowing things up and killing people. That is a disaster. And so I can't think of what's the word they always call when they ask for aid and stuff. Something with the word disaster in it.
Disaster aid.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, disaster aid.
And declaring a natural disaster or something, an emergency. So he's saying it's up to him, and I agree with that. I like that thinking. And so I think the governors are being heard. Obama had I don't know if it was secret or not, but he had a meeting today with 34 governors. 30 that have said they won't take any, and 4 that said they are probably going to change. And there's a lot of blue dog Democrats that are changing and joining the GOP on this, especially up in New York. Schumer and those idiots are saying, wait, we have the World Trade Center. We're not too keen on this either. And so Obama's support for this is eroding rapidly. And it is because of what I've been teaching on my show for 3 years, and that's nullification. State nullification of central government policy. And the 30 governors out of 57 said, we're not going to take it. and that's a majority. And all of a sudden now, Obama's Syrian refugee plan has fallen through.
Now,
and he's having to negotiate, and he's having to go to them. And so they are being heard. And this is what I talk about if the states don't like a federal government decision, a central government decision, not federal, then they can change it.
Yeah. Now, Paul Ryan, who is Speaker of the House, against my wishes, has decided that maybe there should be a pause in this particular process. That maybe the Syrian refugee program can move forward, but maybe with some certain je ne sais quoi element to it. Maybe if we do,
a little French.
Yeah, just a little French to it. If we kiss it the right way, then we can make this work. Representative Mark McCall who is part of that freedom group that wants to exact its revenge for not having Daniel Webster, Speaker of the House, is saying that legislation has to be submitted and approved in which they defund the Syrian refugee program, and number two, retract them as refugees of consideration until a proper vetting has taken place. Why are these men considered cowards and fearful of orphans and widows?
Well, because when you say that, then the simple-minded and low-information people will buy into it. I defy you to show me orphans and widows and all the pictures we've seen of all these immigrants. They just don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
They are the exception, not the rule. This isn't a bunch of orphans and widows and children being sent over here. This is a military age bearded and coming over here ready to. I mean, I can't tell you how many pictures I've seen on Twitter. Yeah. Where on the left side it shows some Muslim holding up a chopped off head in military gear, and on the right side he's in civvies, looking like a nice little fearful immigrant in his new country, ready to create havoc. So we shouldn't just be getting rid of Syria. Now that's the mistake we're making here, people. What we need to do is take this opportunity to roll back the protection of Islam as a religion, because it's not, it's a cult. And we should start sending back every Mohammedan we can find and send them back.
Now, wait a minute.
Let me ask you, how many people in Saudi, Egypt, and any of these, Abu Dhabi, Emirates, you name it over there, Turkey, how many immigrants have they taken from Syria? And the answer is 0. Every single one. Someone on my show last night said 9. Saudi had taken in 9. I don't know. It seems a little excessive.
That was before.
A lot of empty room over there for them to park people in tents. And the Saudi Arabians, for the immigrants going to Mecca and those things, they have built tent cities that are air conditioned and able to handle something like 100,000 pilgrims.
Yeah.
For their pilgrimages at one time. So they've got it all, the infrastructure there. All we need to do is just send every one of these ragheads back over there to them and say, look, it's your problem, it's your religion, it's your people, you fix it. It's not like you're destitute. They have trillions of our dollars from oil and stuff, so they got the money, they got the space, they got the infrastructure, they got the ability, and it's their freaking religion. Let them handle it. It's not our responsibility.
And I think there is a lot of room for the two camel family in the Middle East.
And think about this. On Wednesdays, on Hump Day, that's even better.
That's even better. much better. In terms of the Constitution itself, we know that the 14th Amendment refers to immigration. We know that... Yeah, go right ahead.
Well, I'm sorry, did I blow your routine? I apologize.
No. My routine is subject to you because I am the sidekick on New Day Blackery. Just want to remind.
I have to say, what's up with that?
What's up? Hey.
Yeah. Well, of course it wasn't. It was about making the Democrats treat black was worded that, because the Democrats were preventing black people from voting. So we said, look, this is what a voter is, and this is what we're going to do. And we tried to be very clever as a Republican Party to figure out how we could circumvent any little trick or joke that the Democrats would pull. And so we created the 14th Amendment. It was one of the big deals for Abraham Lincoln. And which I would have opposed simply because the Constitution already has all the words we needed to protect black people. We didn't need this. But they thought that we needed it to force the Democrats into allowing black people to be treated like human beings and citizens of this country. This has nothing to do with who gets born, becomes a citizen. It has nothing to do today. It has nothing to do with immigration policies, pure and simple.
Yeah, but we're being told by the GOP, and then after this question, I'm going to do the biblical aspect of it. But we're being told by the GOP that Dr. Carson and Donald Trump are very weak on foreign policy, and the example of this is their reaction to the Syrian crisis. Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio would love for the Syrians to be brought into our country, maybe not all at once, but in a vetted position. Let me ask you, sir, after listening to Donald Trump and Dr. Carson say, heck no, we won't go, or we won't accept them, which one of these guys is really weak on foreign policy?
Well, I would have to say they all are, because none of them are calling for the eradication of this disease. And Ben Carson as a doctor should understand that if you're going to get rid of cancer, you got to get rid of all of it, not just the fun parts. And so we have to, if we're going to survive as a nation, they provide nothing. I'm telling you, Ken, give me an example of great artists that are Muslim. Give me an example of great sports players that are Muslim, that aren't soccer players. I mean, that's not even a sport. Who cares? But that's the only thing they can come up with, And so give me one that has created something that's patented and worth having a patent on, or a copyright on, or some great work of art or poetry, or any of this. They don't exist because that culture doesn't hold that with their value. And so I asked you, what do they provide this world? They provide oil, and that's about it. And guess what? America doesn't even need it. If we could get rid of the military environmental wackos, then we could get our own oil. We wouldn't need the Middle East. And so they wouldn't have any purpose whatsoever to exist. And so outside of oil, which they couldn't even figure out how to stick a hole in the ground and pull it up, what do they offer this world? I don't know. And so if there is something, I'm still waiting for someone to tell me an intrinsic value of having them in culture. Now, the only thing I can come up with is that God has consistently used them to punish the Jews for worshiping idols. Other than that, they seem to serve no purpose. And they don't enrich our culture. They don't enrich our society. They don't enrich our treasury. They are actually on the negative of that. They suck all that up. And they cause us to be fearful. They cause us to lose property. They cause us to lose lives. They cause us to lose all kinds of things. And so, without exception, I can't come up with even an exception to what I'm saying. And maybe someone else can. So we don't need them. And we can get rid of them. And it's not like anything that they're working on in this country is towards the betterment of the American people. Everything they do, look at their stuff. Every organization they have is for what? Look at the fine print, and it's always something that says for the betterment of Muslims. It's not for the betterment of Americans. All these organizations go one or two lines into their stuff, and it says that we are for the betterment of Muslims around the world. And so I'm asking you how that's even an American thing. Because if I was to start an organization to better white people or to better old cranky guys or anything, well then I'd be called a racist or something else. And it's not an American thing to do. We try to enrich and better the lives of all Americans in this country. because we are a culture. We have a social contract with one another. And these people are trying to uproot it and delete it and replace our social contract with Sharia, which is not compliant with our Constitution. And so, again, I tell you, and no one ever has, to give me a value and then I'll excuse their presence. But otherwise, they provide nothing. And we need to get rid of them. We need to ban their religious protections like we do for, like, say, Baptists and or Episcopalians. So we need to shut down all their mosques as centers of hate and any other madrasas and schools that are in our country. And we need to just start shipping them off. And also, we should bill Saudi for it while we're doing it. We should be saying, you know what, you're paying for these tickets. And you know, look at what happened. I mean, okay, Professor's crazy. Okay. Go back and look at the history of Ellis Island, kid. And Ellis Island, guess who paid for the tickets there? It wasn't America. We didn't pay for all these immigrants to come to this country.
No, we didn't.
You know who did? The steamship companies. And then they got compensated for the families and the immigrants that got in and got through Ellis Island. Then they were compensated for it. Okay? Now, if someone came through Ellis Island and was sick, we quarantined them, gave them the best medical care that America could provide anyone. In fact, the best, number one, and largest hospital in America was on Ellis Island. And anyone could have free medical care there as long as they could pay the price. And American citizens didn't pay for it. If they couldn't pay for it or get a sponsor, you know what we did? We put them back on the steamship of the company that brought them over here, and they had to pay to return. We didn't do it. Someone paid for that medical care, and it wasn't the taxpayers of this country. There were some 300 babies born on Ellis Island during that period, and not a single one of them was given automatic citizenship. Not a single one. And the reason was, and they were on Ellis Island, that's American territory, but the reason was they did not fall under the rules of the Constitution, as the Constitution says, as the 14th Amendment said. A proper interpretation of the 14th Amendment. And you know, we've talked about that, and other amendments that you and I have discussed. And so they were not given citizenship. Now, many of them eventually got it, but not because they were born on U.S. soil.
Exactly.
And so all I'm telling you is let's go back to the same policies of Ellis Island back then. And let's do this again. And our country will be safer. We won't have people, you know, look at all the states, and it's not just illegal, by the way. I'm talking about the legal stuff, because look at all these, in Honduras, they caught 5 terrorists with fake passports on their way to America to create terror. 5 with fake passports. And so, I'm telling you, there is no social redeeming value whatsoever, and we need to get rid of them.
There you go.
Now, it's not humane to kill them all, so let's send them back to Saudi.
Exactly. And that's not what, see, because a lot of people would take what you're saying is because they're anti-American, because they're a political institution that it is, it's a cult of politics, is built on supremacy and built on the eradication of Christianity and any other religion that tests its wearability. That virtually they are better off in a place where they do not have to be contentious, because when they come here, they will be contentious.
Right, when they get enough numbers. Now, they're very good citizens until they have the numbers. But once they break 3% or 5%, so Kel or Jeff could tell you better from EDL. But there is a percentage that once they break it, then they become bitchy. And then after they break another number, then they become demanding. And then they start burning and blowing up things and taking stuff, which we see over and over and over. You know, in Switzerland, I've been there. It's riddled with supermodel-looking blonde women, and it's just an incredible place, Ken. It's like heaven. It's what I imagine heaven to be when I die. And I want to go to sleep.
Exactly. And you get your own. You get your own 72 as well. So
I get 72 Swiss girls. That's right. They're dyeing their hair black. because anywhere they go, the Muslims there are saying that they're being sexually provoked, whatever the word is, sexually provoked, because they can see their hair and it's blonde, and they're raping them. And so these Swiss girls are dyeing their hair black. And I've got like 7 or 8 people who have either had acid thrown in their faces or their faces have been knifed and disfigured into hideous creatures because of these evil Islamic people, because they can't tolerate any kind of difference to themselves. You notice Christians aren't running around killing Muslims. It's Muslims killing Christians. And it's not Christians preventing Muslims from exercising their religion. You don't see Saudi Arabia allowing Christian refugees in from what ISIS is doing when it's out killing Christians. I mean, they're not even taking Muslim refugees. None of them are. But they're not taking Christian ones either.
So let me if I could interject here. I want to interject here because the president says that in reference to Christians, that it's a bigoted thing to put Christians before any other religion. Yet when he refers to Syria, he is making a reference to Muslims. So is Syria a Muslim nation? And if so, isn't it bigoted to only take Muslims from Syria?
Look, you go back far enough, you'll see the land that Syria used to be a Christian country.
Yeah.
So, what do you want me to tell you? I don't know. Muslims hate everybody but Muslims.
Really?
Muslims remind me of black people in this way, that black people hate everybody, including black people. And the people who affect black people the most are black people. That's, if you're going to be killed, then you have like a 90% chance of being killed by a black person if you're black. And if you're a Muslim, then you have something close to that same percentage of being killed. But if you're killed, you'll be killed by another Muslim, not by a Christian. And so that's what it blows my mind that we're all running around saying we need to protect these guys. But we're trying to protect them from Muslims, while we're at the same time trying to pretend that this isn't a Muslim thing, that has nothing to do with religion or Islam or the cult or the Mohammedans. And yet, you know what? If we were to take the Islam out of this, there wouldn't be any problem. One of my favorite quotes is from Benjamin Netanyahu, and I'll paraphrase it, where he says that if the Jews lay down their weapons, the next day they would all be slaves to Islam. But if the Arabs lay down their weapons, then there would be peace.
Wow.
Because the Jews aren't seeking to kill them and to take over their territory. And the only time they've taken territory is when they have been attacked via war and have kicked Arabic ass and then claimed the property. Excuse my language, I apologize. And so they've taken the property. And they did it not because they were gloating and taking the spoils of war, but so they could create a buffer zone for the next time the Mohammedans decided to attack them. That's why they're in the Gaza Strip. That's why they're in, these occupied territories, so on. So, and it's not even occupied. That's just ridiculous language, Jay.
Exactly. Exactly.
Did I answer your question?
I asked and you answered. You did a great job.
Asked and answered.
Ladies and gentlemen, the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones, the exceptional one, Kevin McClinton. You're listening to New Day Black and Red on WNJC 1360 AM and the City of Brotherly Love. And trust me, we are brotherly lovers. We love each other, and we are brothers. But the truth of the matter, it stings and it hurts because it's not the narrative that fits even in the GOP conversation. The simple matter of truth is, if a people were to show peace and were not belligerent to others, then we would not be in this condition in the first place. And secondly, I must say this. I don't understand why a president of the United States, unless he is the ambassador of Islam to the world, wishes to populate the United States of America with radicals who seek the devotion of our nation by their own political and cultural and religious beliefs. And he asked us to be tolerant of that because of orphans and widows. When you have women, according to the Daily Mail, and you should go there and read it yourself, women who have been left behind in the millions with children because their cowardly husbands and lovers have left them there to suffer at the hands of rebels of ISIS. So, ladies and gentlemen, why do we want to import cowardice? We have cowards. They're metropolitans. They sit around all day on the couch drinking little sips from the coffee can, a coffee cup, waiting to register again for Obamacare. We don't want that kind of cowardice in our nation. We are a great and loving and powerful nation. Why do we wish to import weakness? Listen, according to Psalms... Yeah, go right ahead, sir.
If we were being attacked by, say, Muslims, and it became war-torn and terrors everywhere, and we leave the country like Syrians feel the need to, instead of defending and fighting them, which just goes against the American mindset. But let's say we did. And so we decide we're going to flee to Canada. Can you imagine American men fleeing to Canada and leaving the children and women behind?
Wow.
It wouldn't happen. And so I'm telling you, if we did that, it would probably be so that we could go and kick the Canadians out of Canada and then bring our families up there and take it over. It would not be because we want to peacefully live and coexist up there and escape terrorism. If Americans were doing this, we would be sending our women and children up there while we stood and fought a rear action to protect everybody while they fled until we could eventually get there ourselves or stay here and fight for our own country. But we would not leave our women and children behind. Now, in their culture, to be fair to them, women and children are property and they don't matter. Again, this reminds me of being a Democrat, and treating things like property. But Ken, simply put, you're right.
Thank you. According to Psalms 91 in the King James Version, says I have to give a biblical perspective here. And I do that. Thank you.
Not only what's up with that, but who did that?
Who that? In terms of a biblical retort to all of this, there's only 17 verses that refer to refugees or refuge in the Bible. Most of them are out of context of the modern conscripts that we have today. When we think of a refugee or a refugee, we think of someone who has left their particular place of settlement to find a more peaceful coexistence. God says the only peaceful coexistence you will ever have is if you refuge in the secret place of the Most High God. So I want to read to you what scripture or verses of scripture that Moses wrote that shows in the book of Psalms, that shows exactly what he was thinking as he was going through Canaan land to take it back and make it the present day Israel. These are the words from the Lord. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God. In Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. Because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. For he shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. They shall bear thee up in their hands, lest they dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon shalt thou trample under feet. Because he hath set his love upon me. And I want you to hear those that phrase just once more. Because he hath set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high, because he hath known my name. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. Ladies and gentlemen, 12 million men have left, or virtually 12 million men have left Syria and their women and children behind to grapple with terrorism from the hands of the wicked ISIS. There are those who are out there who would say ISIL, but the Levant refers to Israel under the Roman naming of Palestine. I do not see Palestine where it was. I see Israel where it is. And I think it's an insult to refer to ISIS as ISIL. But nevertheless, I will say this to you. The best thing you can do for those 12 million men is to send them back home with a Bible in their hand and teach them the Word of God, that they might come into the salvation of Jesus Christ and might know exactly what a true habitation of peace might be like. I'm quite certain not only would you have saved the families that they have departed from, but you might be the weapon that saved the Middle East. Back to you, sir. Did I do okay?
That was fantastic. Did I tell you about that female I knew that she had twins, and she had one named Amal and the other one she named Juan, and she sent Amal to Egypt and she sent Juan to Spain. Now, one day Juan found out who his birth mother was, and he sent a picture to her, and she was looking at it, and she was looking at Juan's picture, and she looked at her husband and says, "Man, I wish I had a picture of Amal." And he looked over at her and said, "They're twins. If you've seen Juan, you've seen Amal."
Ladies and gentlemen, WNJC 1360 AM is the only place in the world where you can get this serious discussion of the world issues with great levity and joy amongst two great brothers in Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Michael Jones, the underground professor. You can hear him on Blog Talk Radio, on Conservative Commandos Radio. Where else can you hear you, sir? SHR Media, all kinds of
UGP Radio on Periscope, evidently, and UGP Radio on iTunes, Blog Talk Radio /Underground Professor here, and I think that's it. WNJC 1360.
There you go. Every Saturday at 5 p.m., the Underground Professor, Dr. Michael Jones, and of course, the exceptional one here, Ken McClinton. I am so glad that you tune in to Saturday, 5 p.m., our drive time show for Saturday, as you're probably driving between the ball game and going to take your wife to the opera, as every good man should do. Suck it up, man. Suck it up. We're so glad to have you with us, and you can listen to me.
You're trying. I can see.
I'm kissing up. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad that you listen to us. You can come to see me at theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. You can listen to me on Conservative Commandos radio program at 3 p.m. on Fridays with the laughable, the affable, the lovable, the benevolent dictator, Rick Trader, of Conservative Commandos Radio. Listen, a gentleman once told me to live bravely so that I do not die. Yes, sir.
Before you close it, I got two real quick things to tell you.
Too quick.
The last flight instructor of the Tuskegee Airmen, passed away. And today. And a great service dog, a military shepherd, died in France hunting down one of the terrorists today. And so I just want to pass it on. We'll talk more about that on my show on Friday. Thanks, everybody. And it's better to be a coward than to live your life how does it go again?
It is better to live bravely than to die cowardly. That's what a man once told me. And as I tell all of my friends at the end of every show, remember, God blessed America. Now it's time for America to bless God. We'll see you. God bless and take care. Good night, sir.
Hey, I got a letter from you, Ken. It's from Psychics America. Your dues are
I will pay my dues gladly. God bless, sir. Good night, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight to the Exceptional Conservative Show. We will be back again tomorrow night with more of the best in urban conservative talk and just POD fun. Tomorrow night, I want to talk with you all about, and you can let everyone know, we will be reading from Bernie Sanders' writings regarding the fact that women fantasize being raped by men. Just want to make you note it. Good night and God bless.